Let's go.
Dr. Rosie Milligan, one of the most sought-after speakers on the circuit today. Her live internet talk show, Express Yourself, is the most provocative, thought-provoking, and talked-about radio show on the internet. There's no holds barred, and Dr. Milligan puts the B in bold. She brings it every Tuesday live at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Rosie has been proclaimed the most provocative female writer of the century. Her books include Satisfying the Black Man and Black Woman Sexually Made Simple, Why Black Men Choose White Women, and the book Nigga Please. These books have raised eyebrows across the country. She has authored 21 books and published 350 titles for authors nationwide. Check Dr. Rosie out at drrosie.com for her books, articles, and archives of her internet talk show. Sit at the feet of wisdom. Dr. Milligan is indeed a timekeeper and scorekeeper. She is the clock, calendar, and almanac for Black America. You need to hear her.
Top of the morning in sunny, hazy California. You're listening to the Express Yourself Hour. I am your host, Dr. Rosie Milligan, coming to you live as always with nothing but straight talk. That's how we do it around here. My co-hosts are the wonderful, Mr. Keith Swanson. He's still the invisible man. People say, I knew he was AI. Now it's out that they're AI talking and looking like a real person. Well, he's not, but maybe one day. He was out Sunday, nobody caught him. But anyway, Keith keeps showing up and nobody catching him. Money is growing on the table. I don't know what to tell you, But anyway, Keith, how were you today and how did you enjoy yourself Sunday?
I loved it. And it's good to see all these very smart, connected people, man. What I call the bourgeoisie of the black class.
They were there. They were there.
Very interesting people, yeah. Of varied walks of life, yeah. Really interesting.
Great. Well, great, yeah. I had a whole great weekend meeting those kind of people. In fact, I was at Tiffany Haddis prom graduation that she had for students. She does a lot of work with a foster care. I mean, just goes overboard. I just love her spirit and what she's doing. And I was just more connected because this is a generation, and we have more foster kids in L.A. probably than County of L.A. than any place else. But these are people we'll let, as I said, let loose in the world. If we don't do something to help them, it's not going to be good for any of us. So that's really a great thing. So, Shawannah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Dr. Rosie. Fantastic, being grateful for life because we're here, right? Yeah. And we have to be there for each other. So that's what I've been doing. I've been being there for friends that need me and being grateful for life and what God has given. So that's where I am right now in that state of gratefulness.
I think it's a period of reflection because when we look back and look at all the friends and people we know who are no longer with us, or if they are with us, they're not in good health. So, I mean, it's just a blessing. Each day you wake up and can, not being pushed in a wheelchair and able to get out of bed. If you can't cook, at least you can fix you some cornflakes or something. In other words, you can do for self. Yes.
Right.
Well, that's great. Well, today, you guys, we have an interesting topic. Someone had called me not long ago and was talking about the number of Black girls that have gone missing, and there has never been any alarming news about such. So I started thinking about Black girls, in which, I've been thinking about Black boys. We're going to talk about them. I want you to take the lead on that one, Keith. We need to do something on what every Black boy needs to know to survive in today's world. I don't think we'll focus enough on that age group. So today, we're going to talk about what every Black girl needs to know to survive in today's world. And I believe that lessons must start at the age of 5. And some people say, 5 years old, what can you teach a 5-year-old? A 5-year-old already knows more than what you think they know. Absolutely. So how do they learn? They learn by seeing, by observing. You'd be surprised by the time a person get 5 years old. I think one author wrote, most of the thing that you learn it before you get 6. You learn a lot before you get 6. Think about it. It's when you learn to talk, you learn to walk, you know how to learn. It's just so much. I mean, think back, focus back on your own age and think about at 5 and think about the kids in today's world. That's about 5. They know more because they have a TV. You know, back in my day, we weren't watching TV, we would listen to radio. So now look what they see on TV. Sex, everything. So that's why we have to start teaching them much earlier because they're exposed much earlier. And I think it's time that we empower girls in a spiritual way, emotionally, mentally, physically, sexually, and financially. I know some people have a problem when we start talking about empowering girls sexually and financially. That's a weak spot. That's a spot that tends to bring them down. It's not understanding finance. Finance has a lot to do with it because many of them, their lives are ruined because they have lack of finance and they get involved with men who are older than them for finance. And, God knows the detriment that happen because they don't have an understanding about their sexuality and about sex. So those with the faint heart, maybe they don't need to listen to this show because I think we need to do some real talk today. So someone asked me, what age do you start talking about sex in any shape, form, or fashion? And I said at least at 5 years old. That's the time to start talking about the area of their bodies that should not be touched by anyone other than their parent who are giving them a bath and putting on their clothes, but nobody else should have access to their private parts. Now, I think that's important because if you don't teach them, what I found that kids have been molested, they get confused because they can tell you these things will happen after they get up and hear about it on TV and hear people talking about it. But they say, I didn't know whether it was right or wrong. I didn't know if they were supposed to be doing that. It was, it didn't feel good, or I felt like they shouldn't, but I didn't. What do I know? What does a 5-year-old know? Okay. So I think it's important that we talk about that because we've had too many people who have actually gone through being molested. And a friend of mine, we're going to do a workshop called Healing Hurting Women. And it came out of the fact that she talked about how many women, when she talked to them about being molested, they come out behind the walls and say, me too, just like the Me Too movement. Mm-hmm. Because they thought, well, I was only 5 years old. I only thought it happened to me. I didn't know this was something common. But these are women who are hurting today, whose lives are being impacted in a very negative way because they wasn't able to share it. So one of the things we want to teach them, you guys, at 5, let them know who to tell. Don't tell your friend. Tell your parents who you tell. And you have to assure them that you don't have to be afraid to tell me if this happened. I don't care who it is. And you have to remind them to never keep a secret from their parents. Never keep a secret. So if you start at that basis, introducing at that level, you have created an environment for trust and for that child to be able to come and tell you. Because most people always tell me, I didn't know, I didn't say anything. I didn't know how to tell my mother or my father. I I didn't know how it would impact them. But anything that can impact a child's life forever, it needs to be brought out at an early age. So before I move from that point, what do you guys thoughts on that age to start talking about? That's really it's not about sex, but it's about it can lead into that.
It was, yeah, as far as touching and body parts, I think even earlier than that, because we started teaching our children at 3. So,
Okay.
about body
I
parts.
would definitely say that's a good age.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You say 3?
That's a great
3.
age.
Yeah. 3,
Okay.
touching and where not to be touched, and what's your personal space and stuff like that. We started at 3 because if you send them to like daycare or someplace outside of your control, then you have to, you don't know who's the intent of who's the people that are actually watching them. So you have to start at 3 as far as the personal space and stuff like that.
You're absolutely right, Keith, because, back in my days, kids didn't leave home to be cared for. They wasn't going to babysitters. So you're absolutely right. So you got a point on that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of questioned Keith when he first said 3. I was like, 3, they don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
But 5 sounded more right. But then when you explained it, it's like, yeah, you're right. I did tell them at 3 years old when they went to school that, you couldn't let anybody touch you. Don't.
Yeah.
If anything happens, let you know, because, that is the age that it happens. And really teaching children not to be scared, because a lot of times predators, they will say, oh, don't tell so-and-so, otherwise this will happen or that will happen. But understand that there should be no fear in telling on a predator, because the predator uses that fear to continue what's going on. Yeah.
I think it should be like a sliding scale, age appropriate, where you start and what you tell them. I was explaining to my grandson like a couple of years ago about a little girl that liked him, right? And little black girls can be aggressive when they want your attention. I have to explain stuff to them. So, in a sense, that kind of you have to explain it at the level that they can actually understand and actually incorporate it. So you can't tell them, about the bird, all about the birds and bees and everything like that, but you can kind of give it to them in little small bites that they can actually digest.
You're right, because the first thing the predator tells them, this is our secret now. We're not going to tell anybody. And they start giving them stuff. Kids who was molested in families told me that if it was the father or the big brother or the uncle, they always gave them more than what they gave the other kids. It's always like, I'm going to do this for you. And a child get used to you bringing them a teddy bear, you brought them some candy, and they get mixed up about whether to tell you, because they start liking the person for what the person bringing them, and they don't want that person to be mad. Kids have an issue. I don't want you mad at me.
Right.
I don't want you disappointed with me. So they go along with this stuff, because you've heard kids say, well, my stepfather, my father molested me from time I was 6 to 13. I'm sure you guys have heard those stories.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So it's important
that
we talk about this.
Yeah. Like with my daughters, I always put them in sports because I wanted them to be around males and boys without sex. In other words, little girls want attention from boys. They want to kind of gather the attention and be around that male energy, but without what I wanted to actually happen without sex. So sports was actually a good way. You can be around boys, you can play around with boys, you can have physical contact, but it's not sexual. So by the time they get older, there's no mystery to boys. There's no mystery to male energy.
And that's why, and we're going to come back and talk about how important it is for girls to be with their father or father figure. I'm going to give the telephone number out, and we're going to take a call because we have a call already. So that telephone number is 310-928-7733. You can call us here and express yourself on Express Yourself Hour, 310-928-7733, or you can email us here at innerlightradio@yahoo.com. That's INNER. innerlightradio@yahoo.com. I believe we have 2 calls. We're going to go ahead and take the call.
Okay. Which,
we'll take 804 323 is first, and then we'll come to 323-778. So go ahead, caller.
804.
Well, good morning.
Good
And
morning.
I'm so glad I got on this call and joined this show today, because this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree with Keith about having those conversations earlier than 5 years old. I have a daughter, and I started, and she'll be 25, but I started having those conversations with her when she started talking. And not in, paragraphs, but knowing that she was in child care, she was going to be around other children, other adults. So I started talking about that early, because I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and it was important for me to safeguard my child. And so I started early with mine. I do believe that that when you take your children to child care, or anyone babysitting your child, I think it's good to publicly let them know that you're having these conversations with your child, so that if there's anyone that is a predator, they will know that your child, I call it, that your child has been trained to have those conversations. And they call it good touch, bad touch, teaching your children, like Keith said earlier, about the body parts, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. So I think that's important. I also believe that overall, girls need to have honest conversations. They need to be able to hear people around them have honest conversations, so that the trust can be built, and then they'll feel comfortable coming to whoever it is they trust, a parent, mom, dad, to be able to give them that information if they feel that their personal space has been violated.
Well, let me ask you a question, Carla, because you mentioned that you were a victim. Were you able to tell your parents?
Unfortunately, I did not. I did not have that conversation with my mother until I was in my 30s. So that's something that I did not, because I didn't really, well, somebody said earlier, I forget who it was, it said that, that predators will threaten children and tell them, if you tell, this is going to happen. So those things happened to me. And so I kept it away. I was silent. I was one of the silent ones. And that's why I'm so passionate about it now, to start teaching children at an early age to be vocal and speak on it. No matter what the threat is, that they need to tell, that they shouldn't be silent.
Well, what's interesting about that is that, when you if this conversation had been had before this happened, like what we were saying, teaching your children, then saying, don't be afraid to tell me. You should never keep a secret from me. If that conversation you have had that conversation, you would have told, because you would.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying it's important to let them know. Don't keep a secret. Don't be afraid when someone say they're going to hurt mama or hurt daddy. We need to know. Right. Okay? So these are the exact words need to be said to these children.
And keep in mind also that these conversations need to happen often, not just a one sit-down conversation, but it needs to be addressed frequently. So, I always checked in with my daughter, asking her, how's it going? If she spent the night somewhere, I didn't let her spend the night places, unfamiliar places for a while, but I checked in with her often. And I gave her a statement to say. that if she felt that she was in an uncomfortable situation or if somebody
Right.
touched her inappropriately, I told her, I said, this is what you say. I'm going to tell my mommy and I'm going to tell my daddy. And I practiced that with her. So what are you going to say, if something happens and you're uncomfortable? And then she would repeat it so that I would know that she understood the context in which we were having this conversation.
Excellent. Outstanding. And I know you do a lot of work in that field. You have an organization, I think it's called Guarded Wings.
Guarded Wings Project.
Right. So I want to see more of that from you, because when I was at your last workshop, I was just blown away how people felt and what had happened to them and how it had impacted their life. So I want you to, do more of that and let us know so we can support you and your organization. So you can stay on the line with you. You may want to chime in with some other callers. We have another caller. Caller, go ahead. 323
778.
Oh, okay. This is me. Okay. I would just, I'm sorry. I would just like to say, I was molested when I was 5 years old, and I forgot about it. I didn't recall it. And, I would look at like different shows like Oprah's show and all. And I wondered, I wonder if something's affecting my communication with men, because I didn't know. I was trying to think back in my childhood, what made me who I am. And so one day my sister and I, we were watching the Oprah Winfrey show, and Roseanne Barr said that she had been molested by her father and that she forgot about it. Because people were saying, well, why are you just now talking about it? And she said, because she didn't remember it until a certain time in her adult life.
And she probably didn't know what molestation was. She didn't know if it was okay, if this wrong, because nobody had talked about it, right?
I don't know, because I don't remember that part of the show. Because so my sister and I said, how could she forget that? I said, if somebody did something like that to you, how you just gonna forget it? And so my sister looked at me and she says, easy. She says, she named the name. She said, Mr. Giles molested me when I was a kid. And when she said that, it was like I was slapped in the face, because Mr. Giles molested me. All these years I had forgotten about it. But I knew that it was something like within me that wasn't clicking right, but I couldn't put my finger on it until she said that. And when she said that, I remember being molested by the same person that she was molested by. And I remember as a kid, the trauma. I was afraid to go, this was my neighbor. And so when my parents would send us to the store and I would see him, I would panic. I would sweat. I would run to the other side of the street, or either I would go around the block to get home, so I wouldn't have to come in contact with him. And once we talked about it, I remembered the whole incident. I remember how I got in that man's house. His wife used to give us cookies and stuff because they didn't have any children. And, and they would buy cookies and stuff. And so I guess when she felt that they had eaten enough, she would give them to us. So he called me one day. I was outside playing by myself, and he asked me, he said if he wanted to give me some cookies. He told me, so anyway, he opened, the screen door, and I walked in the house and went to the kitchen with him and to get the cookies, and he gave me the cookies, and then and so he picked me up and took me to their bedroom and laid me on the bed. And then right then and there, I knew that was wrong. But I was just, like shaking in my boots. I was scared to move. I mean, it just made me, I was just scared. And so he did not penetrate me or anything, but he used his fingers to touch me. And when he finished, I ran home, and I did not tell my father. I didn't tell my mother. And I don't know if I was afraid that my father would kill him, or I was just afraid to tell, my parents because I just didn't know I didn't know if they would blame me or what would happen. So I just kept it to myself and I buried it and I forgot about it, until my sister and I were adults and we were, looking at that TV show and that segment was about, the people, growing up and forgetting the trauma. I think the trauma was there, but I forgot about what caused the trauma is what it is.
Right. And what happened is what you have experienced is what I have seen as a counselor also is that when one person open up and start talking, and it's like that Me Too movement, then the other sisters say, well, me too. Because neither one discusses. So this predator get a chance to just go through everybody in the house because nobody's talking,
Yeah.
So it's so important to have these conversations because, folks, it does impact people in their adult life. It impact their sexuality, how they relate to men in their life. I mean, it's a bad thing for people to be molested. And like you say, I didn't know if they would blame me. And that happens all the time when you say a person got raped. But what did she have on? What you doing out that time of night? I mean, they make you feel like you did something wrong for being molested or being raped. That's the society we live in. I bet her dress was tight. Go ahead. Let me give the number out one more time. Hold one tight. The number is 310-928-7733. 310-928-7733. Call us, talk to us, let her know what you think as we dive into what every Black girl needs to know to survive in today's world. Okay, go ahead, Shawannah.
Yes, I want to say, this happens all the time, children getting molested. And, it's something that will affect a child. It could affect them for the rest of their lives. They may never know what part of their lives that is affected, but it can affect a child. And I want to say I know that I have a young lady that told me that the child had been molested, and it was brought to the other person's attention that this person molested the child. And that person like, no, that didn't happen. And they fought it and used different things to be the reason why the child claimed molestation in the first place. I want to say there's never, if a child tells you that they are molested, they have been molested. You cannot question a child when they tell you that they have been molested. If a child tells you that, whoever that other person is, you don't need to prove it. You need to get them out of that child's life. Period.
That's right.
Exactly.
You don't have to question that. That is not a question. Even if the child is lying, it is not a question. That person needs to be removed because there's always a reason why a child will say something like that.
Absolutely.
So there's times when parents will question it because they want to be in love with that other person. And, oh, no, I love him. He would never, or she would never. It could happen. If a child says it, don't question it.
That's one of the most hurting things that I found when their parents didn't believe them and they chose the man over them. I mean, that just pierced a woman's heart. Let's hold tight. Let's go to another caller, 323-898. Go ahead, call us. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and what's your take.
My name is Professor Hazel McLeod. How you doing there, Dr. Miller?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm glad I got your message, and this is very important. I just want you to know I'm always plugging in with you. We don't always get to connect, but let me get to the point. I'm looking at this. This is very important. Always is with you, and our audience needs to know that. So what I've done is simply sent your information to some of my contacts here in Oklahoma City. And I'll probably do it for the panel and the council meeting, too, with your permission, because they need to know these things and to expand. But I'll just say this quickly and talk with you and keep it going. They have a program here called Open Mic every day from, 10 to 9 to 11. their show is pretty good too. And this might be something that we can connect with. But what I really say to the audience and everybody else is the breakdown of the family, and not just African American, but I'm specifically concerned about us as Black people. We have to be more specific about us, as Dr. Claude Anderson says, not African American, but Black folks.
Yeah, Black folks.
We need to understand the family has been totally, not completely, but very much decimated. So when you don't have these protections up like we used to in the neighborhood, in the family itself, in this technology and all this AI junk and stuff, this stuff tears down our protection. And so when we don't have the protection, these issues come up where children are exposed to all kinds of stuff, from pedophilia to like you say, the young ladies being assaulted. This is a breakdown in the family. If you don't have a mom and dad in that home, I don't care what people say, we got to sit on that. When you have that protection and there's a father in that home, that makes a difference from those children and that mother. And they work together. It's not anybody over one or the other and who's in control of. It's a balance. It is a balance. So when you have that, children are protected.
You're absolutely right. You're right. And we have lost that protection, Professor, in many of our families because at least 60% or more our homes are headed by female. And I think men do think twice, even how they treat you in dateship, which we're going to get into in a few minutes, when you're dating.
Yes, ma'am.
If your father is there, that man, that boy is going to treat you different than he would. Because I knew my mother died when I was 5. I was reared by my father. And trust me, all those boys in that community, they knew it was hands off because they knew I had a father who was there for protection. And that makes a big difference. They don't pay women, and they figure you're not going to do anything. But they know, do you realize what a father would do to a man who molested their child? Y'all ever thought about that or heard about it? It ain't no play.
Wouldn't be pretty.
That's why I was afraid to tell my father, because I didn't want my father to. I mean, I was just afraid to tell him because I didn't know how he was going to react to that. You know,
probably would have killed him.
It probably would have. But you know, there was a liquor store on the corner of our house, and we used to, and at the time we called them winos, and they used to sit on the side of the store on those crates, and so and men used to gather on that corner, and so we would walk to the store, and so the men that would hang out knew my father. So we would come by, and there would be a new man on a cart, you know. I mean, sitting there, and they would try to flirt with us, and the man would touch him. He said, "Man, them Manuel's daughters." So, and they said, "Oh, hi, little Miss Manuel, hi, little Miss Manuel," and that's all they had to tell them, the Manuel's daughters. And right away, you know, the whole everything changed.
Well, that's why it's important, Professor, you were so right. The breakdown of the family have caused so many problems in our community. You know, a lot of our young men who are in jail. I mean, the breakdown have just really made a big difference. So you guys hold tight. I'm going to move on to some other things. When we talk about what every black girl needs to know. She needs to know that she's okay, first of all. You got to I don't care what she look like, whether she's tall, whether she's short, whether she have short hair, no hair. You got to let her know that she's okay. Because girls who suffer from low self-esteem, I can't tell you all the problems that it causes. You know, when my father would do my hair. My dad knew nothing about doing hair, okay? When I look back at those pictures, I have to just fall out laugh. I said, that's child abuse. But he told us before I left home, "Oh, baby, you're so beautiful. You look so good." So I believed my father. I didn't care what anybody else said. But when I look at those pictures, I look like how to do that. But I thought I was pretty because my dad told me. So it's important that we send these kids away from that house feeling good. That's why I'm and you know, I don't care what color their skin, whatever, show them the beauty in everything. Because that's why I get so angry when I walk out and see these mothers with these 6 years old with hair hanging down to their butt. I want to just go slap them, because you're going to make that baby feel like she's only beautiful with that hair. Now you have locked her into buying somebody else's hair for the rest of her life and pulling out the hair that God has given her. I'm so passionate. I get so angry. Do you guys feel that when you see these little kids, 6 and 7 years
Yes,
old,
ma'am.
with all this hair hanging down?
Yeah.
I just
Yes,
get
ma'am.
mad.
You're right. You're right.
Because-
You're absolutely right.
Because it's the what is it? The insecurity of the mother
Yeah.
projected onto the daughter. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is the essence of beauty, the hair. You know.
Well, that's not all the time though, because I'm telling you, my granddaughter, I stay on her. I wear my hair natural, and I've been wearing it natural for 30 years, or probably longer than that. And you know, and she likes those, you know, put them braids in, hanging past her butt and all that. And I tell her, you don't need that. What? I mean, when are you going to wear your hair? You okay with your hair, you know? And she said, Granny, I'm not trying. She said, I just like changing up. I do it. And she does. She doesn't wear the same style. I mean, she do all kind of different styles.
But she probably not 6 and 7 years old, right?
Yeah, she's not. That's peer pressure.
No, she's a teenager.
Right.
She's a teenager. Right, and she didn't wear it when she was a little girl. It was once she got in high school.
Yeah.
Once she got in high school, then that's when she started, you know, wanting to wear the weaves and, you know, put on the long ponytails and all that. And, you know, I can't stand it. But, you know, I've talked to her about it. But, you know, I have to let her be herself.
But you got to empower them before they get to that age. That's why I started at 5. A 6-year and 7-year-old don't need to have anybody's hair but theirs. I don't care how short their hair is. I don't care what their hair look like. It's important to know that you're okay. That's important. It builds self-esteem. Now, the other thing we need to empower Black girls with, that the importance of not being a follower. Please, parents. Do not, when you detect that characteristic, going along to get along, following other people. Why do some girls follow other people? Because they think those girls are better than they are. They're trying to align themselves with somebody who's more important. It's important not to be a follower, because that's the problem that you get into. You know? I can go back. I mean, I hate to just keep telling my story, but it's true. Well, I remember when girls would jump in cars and go places with boys and do things. I remember one day we were all walking down the street in Illinois. We're going to do this. I said, well, I'm not going. You going back by yourself? I walked back home by myself, because I knew one thing. These girls, if they got pregnant, they had a mother to go home to. I didn't have that. Okay. So I was always cautious that y'all take that baby home to mama. So you got to, and that made a difference in my life, because my dad always taught me, whenever I would say, Daddy, can I do so and so? And if he said no, what everybody else doing, he would come and hug me. He said, you know what? You ain't everybody else little girl. I was so mad at him. But it made a difference in my life. He said, you ain't everybody's little girl. You my little girl, and you can't do this.
Right.
You know, as a young girl, and even as an adult woman, the girls that we hung out with, we always would say, when we go somewhere together, we come back together. You're not going to meet some guy and run off with him. No, if we all four go to a party together, we all coming back together. We wouldn't let somebody, because you met somebody, get in the car and go with them. No, you better let him have your phone number and pick you up, because if we leave together, we come back together.
Well, in the olden days, as Professor McLeod, people taught values. My dad always said, you have telephone money. Okay? Have enough money to make a phone call. So you can jump out of that car. You can get out of that car and call me to come get you, okay? So now, we need to empower Black girls, you guys. Now, some people jump on me about doing it. Everybody don't believe in God. You shouldn't talk about that. I say they need some spiritual values.
Yes.
Their belief system must be intact. You got to believe something, because your belief system will determine what you will stand for and what you will not stand for.
That's empowering by itself, is to have a spiritual background, because I'm telling you, having a spiritual background put boundaries and limits on what you will accept and will not.
Well, because you value, number one, go ahead, Melody. You value your body because you're taught, your body is the temple. People can say what they want to, Keith, you guys, about the church and these ministers.
Right.
I know a whole lot of it is wrong about it, but the church can do you good. I'm going to say that one more time. Because one thing you learn, obey your parents, so it is right. Do unto others. If those lessons, whether you believe in God or whatever your denomination is, these values is important. The world would be so much better off if it had been ingrained into people that do unto others, you would have them to do unto you. Obey your parents, for it is right. Your days will be longer. These are good values. So we got to get these Black girls back into spiritual value, because many of them, their parents are disconnected because they have no spiritual value. Because some of them don't have, because they feel like it put a bridle on them. I can't do what I want to do if I'm in church. Christianity was never designed to make your pleasures less. It just make you go at a different direction. So, spiritual values, our Black girls need to come back to. You guys agree, Andre? Dr. Anthony?
I agree.
Yes, I'm here. I agree. And I was just thinking, my daughter was raised in the church, participated in the children activities, the choir, the usher board, Sunday school. She did all of that. And then when she got older, out of high school, she kind of, strayed away and didn't go as often as she did. And then she started having some things happening in her life. And so I just started talking to her, and I just told her, I said, that missing piece to your life, I said, you need to be in a ministry. You need to be in an environment where you can be taught spiritually. And that's all I said. I said it a few times. Didn't pressure her or anything. And then eventually she came to me. She was like, I think I'm gonna start going to church. And found a church that she loved, and that's where she's attending. But she had that foundation. And so the foundation was important. So she just stepped right back in. It wasn't anything difficult for her to grasp because she had that basic foundation as a little girl. So I really think that that's important.
Well, you know how you said she stepped back in. That's key. You can't step back in something you've never been in. And that's why, the Bible says, train a child in the way he should go. When he's old, he will not depart. He have something to come back to. But some of these kids some of these boys and girls have no inclination at all about spiritual values. That's why they can snatch your old lady's purse and leave her on the ground. Okay? Yeah. That's why they can go and take your money out of the bank and think nothing about it. That's why they can do all the stuff they're doing. Folks don't understand, you guys. I'm not trying to force you to be in religion. I'm talking about spiritual value. If we can take the name off of this, I'm Kojic, I'm Church of God, I'm this. Take the name off of that and focus on being spiritual. That's what makes the world a better place. So we talked about what we need to teach you. Black girls need to be able to accept themselves. Short hair, no hair, whatever, because your hair, and that's a whole story when it comes to Black women about hair. I'm going to do a whole show on that. Spiritual value. And the other thing, let's go to it, emotional and mentally. You got to teach them about their emotion, how they deal with that mentally. My daughter said to me once, she was in college at Xavier University. She said, Mom, she started talking about sex. She said, did you have sex before you got married? Now, you know what I'm saying. You gone too far. But I said, well, no. I said, but remember, I said, now I got married at 19. You're 25. So I can't make that comparison with what your hormones are doing and and what you're feeling right now, because we're in different times. But I tell you one thing. I said, let me ask you this question. If you think you are ready for sex, let me ask you this. If you have sex with a young man and the next day he's not even talking to you, or the next day you see him with another girl on campus, or the next day somebody tell you that he told somebody else on campus that he had sex with you, would you be okay mentally? Oh, no. That was her answer right there. Did you guys hear what I said? We got to give him something to think about. Now, if you can have sex with him, so I don't give a hoot what he did. It was just something I wanted to do. I'm not thinking about him. It was just like getting buying a bar can of getting some ice cream. I may not want no ice cream tomorrow. You got to be able to open up and low down alley talk to these kids when it comes to sex. I had to say that to her.
Right.
It made a difference. She got to thinking, what if I did that? Because boys do that. You know what? When I was in Illinois as a teen, I know y'all tired of me talking about myself, but I have to.
No.
They was casting
No, we're not
lots.
tired.
Yeah, they were casting lots. Because all the other girls was having sex, and they ain't nobody told them I wasn't having sex with any of them. Like I said, I ain't have nowhere to take no baby. Okay. So they were casting head and tail.
Oh, who's gonna conquer?
Head, yeah,
who's gonna conquer Dr. Rosie? Huh?
But they didn't know that my nephew was in the crowd. And he said, he just laughed. He's because I knew what was going to happen. You going to beat the hell out of him if they touch you. And then because I wouldn't be bothered with him, then you ain't nothing but a tomboy. She just a tomboy. That's okay. I didn't care what they said. They were not going to beat me down. I say that because it's important to tell, just like what I told my daughter, you need to have that conversation. If you have sex with it, because do you realize how crushed a young, that's why girls should not be allowed to date at 13 and 14 years old. They are too young to have their heart broken, you guys. Now, you as an adult, now y'all know what it feels to be heartbroken as an adult, that you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't do your work good, you about to get fired on your job. Come on now, talk to me. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is what's the name said? Love is. That's what love will do for you.
Because sex affects a man's body or a male's body differently than it affects a woman's body. Okay, so all the teenagers that I knew, I actually gave them a book called Alchemy of Love and Lust, right? And it takes you down to all the hormones that a woman's body produces when she has an orgasm, right? So when she has sex, because a woman's body is built to bond to her mate and to her children. And then that's that. So when a woman has sex, that's what she's gonna do. She's gonna bond to that man that she has sex with. That's what she's supposed to do, right? Men don't have the same chemicals or hormones, so he can go on about his business to the next woman because he's not bonded to you with things. But you're sitting there with your emotions and all these chemicals and hormones running through your body, trying to connect to that guy. So it's different.
And now you didn't pay for your daughter. You didn't pay for your daughter, a professor, to go to college. Now she done got down there and start having sex with somebody, get emotion tied up. Or the guy don't want to talk to her the next day. All of a sudden, an A student flunked down to a D. You guys got to hear what I'm talking about. So you need to talk to them about that. You know, it's
and
important.
you may have to take over the response. When something goes wrong, the responsibility falls on us as parents.
Especially now.
But it's more spiritual than economic, like the brother just said. When you connect with somebody, you connected not just physically, you connect in everything.
Yes, it's a whole thing. And so we have this whole society that tells girls that you can do the same thing as boys because you're the same kind of people. It's not true. And they're setting women up for this disaster. Yeah, go ahead.
What they say, Keith, what's fair for the gamble is fair for the goose. You guys better stop talking that crazy talk. And you got to tell these girls, sex is not love. Sex is not love. Now, I'm getting ready to hit it real hard here because people, you shouldn't say that. No, because a man go to bed with you, he don't owe you a damn thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool. Yes,
he don't owe you nothing. And that's what we gotta say to you. He don't owe being talking about he cheated on me. Ain't no such thing as cheating. If you ain't married, hell, it ain't no cheating.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Ain't
you.
no damn cheating.
And we don't owe the man anything either. The woman don't owe the, because a lot of times you say the man doesn't owe you anything.
Right.
Sometimes we get so caught up that the person has sex with them and like, I'm so in love. After the first month, you are not in love, okay? That's called lust.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a mental attachment because really the Bible said you become as one.
That's
and
when you're married. Wait, go back up now.
But no. What I'm saying is, this is why you're supposed to be married, because you become one. And if you're doing that before you get married, then you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position.
You are.
Well,
because
okay.
you do.
But let me
because
tell you that's why we having this teaching right now, sweetheart. Because that's the frustration and that's the stuff that we are having right today, because women cannot control how the hormone is produced. And when we are saying to a black woman, I'm talking about black men, you ain't supposed to have sex and you get married. Well, 70% of the black women gonna go to heaven untouched. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know they gonna call me. I'm gonna have some minutes. Well, you shouldn't say that. Yeah, I said it. You married and you having sex with someone other than your wife, and you gonna tell me as a single woman that I cannot feel full of need, and then you say you against masturbation. You say you can't masturbate. Y'all better get out of my face with that. Don't call up here talking smack. Don't call up here because I know I'm right. 70% of the women. I feel sorry for women who have never been married. You know why? If you've been married, you can say at least once I had somebody who loved me, who embraced me, who took me down the aisle. I had a baby for. But can you imagine a woman who have never had that?
Yeah.
Can you see the frustration in our community, Professor? A woman who have never had anybody say I love you and to show it, and didn't even have a father in her life. Do you guys understand how messed up that is? That's jacked. And the kids say that's jacked up.
You're right. You're hitting hard. You're hitting hard.
Oh, Lord.
I'd rather to have had love and lost it than to not to have had it at all. Y'all better get out of my face up in here.
Well, you're preaching today.
I'm tired. I want our black women to be whole, and we got to teach them the facts. And then we got to empower them financially. Boy, hey, we about to run out of town. Financially, get your own. A man do not owe paying your rent, your car note, your nothing. Get your own. Don't come into the relationship being a liability. Be an asset. That's what you got to tell your little girls. Don't tell them, girl, you find somebody that's really making money. He got a nice car. These women start off to, girl, you better grab him. You better grab him.
I remember in high school. Now I'm going to one of my stories. I went to a Catholic all-girl high school, and those little girls were wild at that school. And if a boy came from the all-boys school in the fancy clothes, they were all over. They're like, oh, my God, Michael is here. Whatever it was, he would pull up, and he would have all the women. And I would just look over there, and I'd look at him, and I'd say, but that's his car, not yours. You have to work for your own, because we settle when we don't.
And
we settle for things that we don't want.
And who did they get that from? A lot of them, their mama. Because their mama, honey, if he can't pay your way to the movie, you don't need to be with him. What do my 16-year-old boy, where he going to get money from to pay for you to go to the movie? Your mama better give you some money, and I'll give my son some money. Y'all better get up out of here. Y'all understand what I'm saying? These are the lessons we got to teach. Empower them financially. Teach them about money. Then you don't have a girl in high school dating a man who's 28 because he got a car.
Because he got a car, yeah.
That car,
Yeah.
anytime, is a bed for them.
Yeah,
Come on.
it is.
Teach your daughter,
Yeah.
catch a bus. You can go, two boys, you can go to, you
Yeah.
don't have to have a car.
Yeah, well, your thing is you got a teacher that's not a status move to get in the car with the older man, because that's really what it is, because I've seen that in high school, right?
Yeah.
I actually lost a girl to a guy rolling up 21 years old in a Mercedes, so I know. So I know. So it's status, yeah.
You know what? You know what I told my daughter? I told her, when you're in high school and boys want to have sex with you, they don't know what they're doing. They're gonna practice on you, but you're not gonna be their girlfriend. They practice them because they don't know what they're doing. And an older man don't feel he can please a woman that know what it's supposed to be like. So that's why he chase after young girls, because they don't know.
Now, see, you done started on a whole nother show.
That's another show.
No, we gonna do that on another show.
There's reasons for it. There's reason for it. The thing is, they do know, and the thing is, they want control of that girl. So that they do know. They do know.
Well, one thing about you guys can say, you may think sex doesn't control people, but there is. When
yes,
people
it does.
talking about what they want, I didn't have an orgasm, you don't know what you're bargaining for, because it could be like dope. You be chasing it again.
Yes, it does.
Wow.
I can tell you that
right.
it does. It does.
And you right. And he could be the most awfulest guy in the world too. But you chasing that feeling.
Although hormones, you have to get, when a woman orgasms, she releases like 20 hormones, right? That's a drug, okay? That is a drug. And the guy that knows what he's doing, he's a dope dealer, okay?
Yeah.
We're gonna have.
Shut up, Shawannah.
Dr. Rosie, this is the talk you're gonna have to have, okay?
It's
I have counsel.
But let's go back to this.
So.
You have to be able. But listen up. You guys are absolutely right. But these teenagers don't understand that.
No.
So you got to be able to teach them how to come back when you've gotten addicted to something that you like. You got to teach that lesson. If you don't teach them, you got to be real. You can say, well, this can happen, but just like when we talk about withdrawing from alcohol, whatever, sometimes you got to go through a path of teaching them, because you didn't tell them anything before. So now you got to come back and tell them it's okay to be hooked, but you don't have to say. Hear what you need to. Maybe you need to do more activity. Maybe you need to get more involved, because now you've gotten into this person. You waiting for him to call you every day after school. I mean, you have a ritual. So maybe you need to fast. You need to fast from sex. You got all I'm talking about. If we don't teach these lessons, we're going to corrupt our black girls, because nobody's telling them anything. The man can't talk to them from a man's standpoint, because they don't have a father in the home. So we got to get these lessons over so our girls can be all right. Because I'm tired of seeing them sitting on the bus stop trying to take a baby to a babysitter and then catch the bus back to go to work. That hurts my heart, you guys.
Yeah, that is and I warned women about that. I also warned boys about that, right? About you have to be careful, because if you are that guy and you do imprint her, she's gonna try to have a baby for you, because that's what she's designed to do, and you got to be careful. So so you can't you got to use your wand responsibly. You can't just throw it around.
Right.
Okay?
And kids, the bottom line with that, you guys, hold up. You know who really get the brunt from this? That baby. Who the mother, now she's mad.
Right.
She don't love the man no more, and now she can't love the baby that was produced with this man. Do you guys hear what I'm saying?
What did Dr. Wellston say? When adults play with sex, the joke is on the children, right?
That's right. So we got to do better. You guys, guess what? This show is almost over. It's 11:59, and this show is going to be aired.
You done set the church on fire.
I know. I'm going to get put out to church again. I think we need to
do a part 2 next week. Needs to be
I agree.
This
Dr. Rosie, you're right. Let's go for a second one. And this needs to be on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, KJLH, whoever.
Oh, man.
I mean, it really does need to be heard.
Oh boy,
Absolutely.
this is a rabbit hole here. This is a series of how far we can go with
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
You guys,
Yeah,
show.
this is some good stuff. You really fired me up today. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, this show
Thank
is
Dr.
going to
Anthony
re-air.
for
The
sending me
show,
the talk.
hold tight. The show is
You're
going to
welcome.
re-air. It's going to re-air at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you guys can always go to youtube.com/ at Dr. Rosie 11. This show is going to be on YouTube. We have to put it up. And we want you to start sending people to my YouTube channel, and they hear all the other different shows. It's really important. Go to my youtube.com/ at Dr. Rosie 11. You guys, it's been great. We have some great input. Dr. Anthony, I appreciate you so much. All of you all.
Ditto.
I think, don't you think it's time to have these
you.
conversations?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think
Yes,
definitely.
definitely.
This is a whole book, Dr. Rose. This is a whole book, okay?
It is.
No, this is something that needs to be talked about.
Very edifying.
Thank you.
And share the other young lady that is on here, her page and what she's doing to help the children out. The angel.
Oh, Dr. Andre, do you have your website? Is she still
No,
there?
I don't. It's yes, I'm still here. It's under construction. I don't have it, but as soon as it's up, I will definitely share it with everyone.
Okay.
And I have you on the show, and we're going to have this talk with what Black boys need to know. So Professor Maglig, make sure you jump on when we start talking about what Black boys need to know to survive in today's society. Black women must know. Yeah, they must know that they're okay. Our women are not feeling okay. My hair too short. I'm too fat. They're going to Mexico, building up a big booty, and still don't nobody want you. Yeah, that's what I said. Call up if you want. You still ain't got no man. You still ain't got.
Dr. Rosie. Dr. Rosie.
Yes, ma'am.
We should also have the conversation about our Black boys because they're being molested also.
We are.
Yeah.
We're going to have that. Yes, we're going to have that. You know, they start at a very early age, molesting them too.
That's right. And that's why a lot of our
Black boys. Yeah, especially
that's
Black
why our
boys.
Black boys are so angry because they and most boys, when I see boys that are just acting out and real angry, that's what I I feel that, because I went through that.
Yeah, they have so many reasons to be angry, and we're going to talk about that. So hopefully you stay tuned. And do you listen to our show often, or this was just a one time?
No, I'm not on it every week, but just so happened today, Dr. Anthony texted me and told me to call that number, and I called it, and I didn't. It went to voicemail, and so I said, "No, wait a minute, she wouldn't give me the wrong number." So I said, "Let me push it again," because I just pushed it came up blue, and then I connected the second time.
Well, we're glad you did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, keep posting, you guys. This has been great. The clock on the wall said that's all. So you guys go out and everybody should teach them and let them know it is time to make a change. You guys have a great day.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Rose.
Thank you.